hamster.
I usually have a pen, but I took my pen off. Oh, thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Let's go ahead and get started then if we could. We're a little bit past Baptist time, 10:05. But let's go ahead and start now, and then we'll jump into the stuff we have for today. Before we start, though, if we can do a little bit of a prayer, but if there's any prayer requests, I got a couple. I got Irving's grandson, Miss Connie's family, and Israel, and Preacher Jordan.
My one granddaughter was in the hospital for 2 operations, the one that was vomiting out blood, but she is home now. And they did remove her gallbladder.
Huh,
And
really?
stones in her bowel, though.
So she needs she still needs prayer though.
About 3 or 4 days.
Recovery. Couldn't think of the word. All right.
So thank God that she's...
Yes, sir. Or yes, ma'am. You're right. Yes, ma'am. Angie.
Home. She ended up with 7 laparoscopy,
Yeah.
whatever.
So recovery for Angie.
Talked to her yesterday on the phone, and she sounds good, but she's got quite a bit. She's got a 2-week recovery in the house where she can't come out, and then after that, they're just taking it one day at a time. So, but she sounds good. She's hungry. She can't eat.
Celery juice.
No, she can't even have that. Oh.
All right. Got any more?
Carrie and Rebecca and
Carrie and Rebecca.
Nathan and Stephen, they're traveling back tomorrow from Florida.
So the edge to go. Carrie, Rebecca. Let's say edge to go because I don't remember all the names. All right. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Pray for my brother to get saved, and also for my dad to keep recovering from
Stroke.
stroke. My dad had a stroke back end of November, beginning of December. So speech is coming back, but his right arm and right leg are still
Yep.
there. He's given it 100% with physical therapy and all that, but it's still really slow.
Yeah. All right. And then one on there. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Your family? All right. Anybody else? We're good. All right. Let's go ahead and pray, and then we'll jump into it. So let's pray together. Heavenly Father, we'd like to thank you, Lord, for another opportunity to gather together today. Thank you so much for letting everybody get here safely. Thank you so much, Lord, that we can worship you and fellowship together. Thank you for the church, Lord, and the things that you established just so that we can all take part in it. Thank you so much, Lord, that we can pray to you. We know you're a God that hears prayers and answers prayers. We know that it's always on your time. Help us to always be thankful. We know that you're there, and that you hear, and that you answer when you see it fit. Please, Lord, if you would. We had some specific requests today. If Irving's grandson, Josh, his salvation, and also his health issues. There's a couple others for salvation. Crystal's brother Jeremiah, and any others out there who may need. If you would, Lord, just convict their heart, bring them to you. For Miss Connie's granddaughter, thanks so much, Lord, that she got through the surgery safely. Same thing for Miss Angie, that she got through it safely. Please be with both of them and help them to recover in such a way that's pleasing to you. And please be with the nation of Israel, Lord. They need you. With all this stuff that's going on over there. For Miss Christine's family, and also the edge of the yoke and his recovery from that. Lord, there's so many things we have to ask you for every day. And thank you so much, Lord, that we can ask you every day. And then we know that you're going to hear and that you're going to answer in your time. Lord, we want to ask that for going forward today, that you just open up your word for people to hear and let it be pleasing to you. Get me out of the way. In Jesus' name we ask it all. Amen. All right, let's see. So, yeah, good. All right. We're going to do our Sunday school for today. So here we are. And this is the verse that I like to try and throw out for Sunday school. Sanctify the Lord God in your heart. Be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear, from 1 Peter 3:15. So that's what we want to try to do, is to give you a little bit of ammunition. So when you go out there and somebody asks you a question, you'll be able to answer. Give them a correct answer, a biblical answer. That's what we hope to do. And part of the reason that I'm up here today is creation. That's what I like to start with most of the time. So we're going to do one animal today, and then we're going to do something else. But the animal we're going to do, I was given this idea from someone in the auditorium. So if that person would they not tell everybody what it is until the end?
It's one of those we can't tell.
I don't know if you'll be able to tell it or not. That's what I'm getting at. I know somebody will be able to tell it immediately. That's what I was getting at. And then everybody else, So anyway.
To see a horse.
A horse. Yeah. Well, this is the creature that I'm talking about. So does everybody know what it is, huh?
Looking creature.
It's a what? Wombat. Nah, it's not a wombat.
Definitely not a wombat.
Not a wombat, huh? Kangaroo? What? What's the matter with you? I mean, I'm creation over here, man, and you're kangaroo? I do animals all the time. It's an alligator. Good job. All right, we got it. Miss Dawn, do you know what that creature is?
Between a dog and something else.
Yeah. I think Miss Dawn knows what this is. Yes, ma'am. Cavy.
Say that again.
Cavy. C-A-V-Y. I'll spell it right here in a second. C-A-V-Y. Cavy. Okay. Yeah. Well, they did have it at the zoo, and that's basically what it was. Is Miss Dawn was like, I've seen this cavy, so come here and tell me what it's about. So that's what I'm going to try and do today, is tell you what it's about. So I didn't know a whole lot about the cavy, except I did know one thing, but anyhow, we'll go through it. The cavy, and finding out about this more, the cavy is actually a name for 3 different creatures. I didn't know that either, but cavy is 3 different creatures. 3 animals have the name cavy, and it depends on the part of the world that you're in, whether they call it a cavy or not. Anyhow, one of them is this one right here. What? Is a what? Oh, very good. You went from kangaroo to capybara. You got that one right. It is a capybara. Anything neat you want to tell us about him? Okay. It's a rodent, so all cavies are rodents, actually, and I'll tell you what a rodent is here in a second. This is the capybara. This is a cavy, actually. Some people call it a cavy. This is the largest rodent on the planet, about 150 pounds. It's a big thing, 4 feet long, 150 pounds, that cavy, or that capybara that some people call cavy. This is also another cavy. It's capybara, all right. So, yeah, a guinea pig. Some people call those cavies. And it is a guinea pig. Compared to the capybara, guinea pig is about 1 pound to 3 pounds, 16 inches or so. No, it's not 16, 8 inches or so. Yeah, not very big, No, not 8-2 was completely wrong, 8. So yeah, small little thing. It's a guinea pig. You've seen guinea pigs. Has anybody seen a guinea pig out in the wild? Huh? You think so? You know how many guinea pigs are in the wild now? 0. Very good. 0. There's no guinea pigs in the wild anymore because they're all pets and they keep them in the pet store and whatever. Anyhow.
I don't think I'd keep that first one as a pet.
I wouldn't either. But then this third one is the one we're going to talk about. And this is still a cavy, but more appropriately.
Semblance to the
Yep. But all 3 of those are rodents, and actually this cavy, the third one that we're going to talk about today, is named Amara, actually. Has anybody heard the name Mara before?
Yeah.
Where?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, what's it mean?
It's, isn't it, kind of a derivative of
Myrrh. Oh, no. Oh, I know what you're getting at. No, it's not that. But I know what you're saying, though. Derivative of myrrh. Huh? Oh, yes. I'm sorry? Bitter? Bitter. Okay. Well, I don't even need to turn there now. Ruth 120, you got it exactly right.
Well, yeah, and it is related to Ruth.
Kind of, yes. So Ruth 120, I'll read this for you. And she said, this is Naomi. And she said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. So Mara, bitter, okay. I went out full, this is still Naomi speaking, I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? Verse 22 says, so Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. One thing I want you to notice about that, Naomi says, call me not Naomi, but call me Mara. Then in verse 22 it says, so Naomi returned. So, why didn't they say, so Mara returned?
She was just making a statement, if she was bitter.
I kind of agree with that. She was just making a statement, but she can't change her name. She doesn't have that authority. There's only one person who has the authority to actually change names.
Yeah, I would say that she was just emotionally upset at the time, and she's like,
Okay.
don't remind me of pleasant.
Yeah, you could say that too. What I was getting at, she can't change her name to something different, saying whatever. Only God has that authority to do so. He did it with Abraham, did it with Jacob, and there's other points in the Bible where he does that. Anyhow, so Mara, and you also see Mara in the New Testament. If you think about it, Mara, it's not bitter. Mary, and that's not just Mary, it's also Martha. Martha. But it doesn't mean bitter. It means the mother of Christ. But we'll talk about that one later. Anyhow, back to Mara, or back to the Cavy thing. So this is the thing we're talking about, the Mara or Cavy. The Mara, you can see the name up there, the Quotis Patagonium. And you kind of see on the end of it, Patagonium, it looks like a place, and that's actually what it is, Patagonia. So does anybody know why we use Latin names, by the way? Why?
It was a dead language.
Yeah, that's why we use Latin, is because it's a dead language. Now, all right, let's see this. So, what? Go ahead. What? Kinda. So there's a big cat that's native to North America. Big cat. Does anybody know what it is? Big cat. What? You see lions in North America? Right here where we live. A what? Cougar, mountain lion. Not an ocelot. Puma, mountain lion, puma, cougar, and if you go out west, there are catamounts. But guess what? All of those are the same animal. Cougar, puma, mountain lion, catamount, it's all the same animal. The Latin name is Felis concolor, if you don't need to know that. But what I'm getting at is, that's why we use Latin names, because in different parts of the world, it's named something a little bit different in whatever language it is, just like Mara or Cavy. But if you say it's a Dolichotis patagonium, they know exactly which one you're talking about. You know what I mean? For wildlife people. Yeah, well, what I'm getting at is it narrows it down to only that one, rather than it could be a mountain lion, it could be a puma. What's the difference? There is no difference. Yeah. So, yeah, that's why we use it. Small rodent, that's what this thing is, a rodent. Does anybody know what a rodent is? What? Rat, okay. How do we classify S? Go ahead. Garden pest, yes ma'am. Teeth. That's very good. That's exactly how you can tell the difference in a rodent and most everything. It has teeth that always grow. Those two insides are teeth. It has a pair of the front teeth that continually grow. Just like always, what they don't have, though, is canine teeth. They don't have them. So the ripping, tearing teeth that you have in your body, rodents don't have those. And there's other things, too, but we're not going to get into those. So he's kind of small. 27 to 30 inches, about 2 feet, 2.5 feet. And you get up about 20 pounds on average. So kind of a small animal, rodent. They are located in Argentina. And in Argentina, actually, is Patagonia. So Argentina, the very bottom of South America, and then Patagonia. So you can see its name right there. And when they're in that area, they kind of live in a desertous area or an arid field or just places that don't have a whole lot of water in the area, okay? So, like I said, deserts. If they're in the deserts, he's a herbivore, like virtually every rodent is. They're herbivores. They're in the desert. What kind of food do they have? Who? Plants in the desert. Hardly anything grows in the desert, though. Snake. What? Sand. They eat sand? Yeah. Okay. I'll go ahead. They do eat cactuses, cacti. They eat the succulent plants, kind of like aloe, things like that. They grow in the desert. Those, they will eat those. Cactuses and, Gila monsters. They don't eat that. Anyhow, cactuses. If you can look at it. Mara is also coprophagous. Does anybody know what that big pretty word is? Well, coprophagous. They don't have very much food to eat. What? Yeah, it does have something to do with the esophagus. It has to do with what they eat. If he's coprophagous, that means they eat their own dung. Okay, so Maras are,
We could have done without that.
hey, just going to let you know, man, that's how you find food in the desert, I guess. If you're a Mara, you got to eat your own poop. So that's what they do. I just had to throw it out there. Yeah, they're coprophagous. There's a picture of them. Oh, one other thing I want to tell you about them, their locomotion, how they move. Yeah, I don't know about that. One of the ways that they move is like an amble. It's like a slow walk, so they can do that. They hop around like a rabbit. So if you can kind of see their long legs in the back, they do a rabbit hop. Not only do that, though, they gallop kind of like a horse. Somebody said a horse earlier. Guess what? Amara gallops like a horse. Okay? And then they do the one other thing. It's called a stot. Somebody got any idea what that is? Okay. Well, that basically means they use all 4 feet at the same time and they bounce on all 4 feet at the same time. Do what? Yeah. And ungulates, the 4 stomachs, anything. Anyhow, that's what they do. They bounce around. So they can do all kinds of different locomotion. So it's pretty neat about the Mara. And there's a little thing, yeah. I always have to throw in a baby picture just to hear somebody in the audience go, ah. Anyway, all right. So Maras actually mate for life, okay? That's an important point. Part of their mating, they have 1 to 3 pups once every year. So once a year, there's 1 to 3 more in that little family that they have. What they do have is a communal burrow. So in that burrow, I don't know if I got it up here or not, but they can have, it'll be one family that lives there, but more often than not, it's communal. So they have a bunch of different family groups that live there. Actually, one of the biggest ones they found, they had 15 different pairs consisting of 70 individuals just in this one burrow, It's pretty neat that they could do that. Oh, I did write it up there. All right, cool. So 15 pairs and 70, like I said. And it takes 75 days to actually wean just a new one from, to get him weaning. 75 days is kind of long for something that's a rodent or something that's an animal. It's 75 days is kind of 2.5 months. It's a little bit long. There's an important point to that. Has anybody heard of the Crace system? You have?
I've heard of a creche, but not.
Okay. Well, this is what the Crace system works like. So, the way it works is you have these moms that they take care of their babies, obviously, and it takes 75 days. So what they're going to do is they actually go in the burrow to feed. While they're in the burrow feeding, the males will stay up on top and watch for predators. And sometimes the females will be up there with the babies too. When the male sees a predator, it lets the females and the babies know, and they go down into the burrow. Okay? They go down there to hide while something's going on. The male, whatever predator is coming after them, will run away in the hopes that the predator will chase the male. So the Crace system is like the males dominate up the top, and they keep the females and the babies safe by going into the burrows. Okay? It's a pretty neat system. And that's how it works. The Crace system is a communal kind of caring for the youngest and the most vulnerable in their little system. So they run off, or that's what they do. Anyhow, the Crace system is a good thing. So anyhow, all right, so I think we're Yeah, we are. All right. So there's points about the Mara that I wanted everybody to see before we go into the next part. So if we think about the Mara and we think about all the different systems that I've just given you, so even though he's coprophagous, is that kind of important for that creature in the desert? What if he could not do that? I mean, they started eating cactuses and whatever. If they didn't have that around them, they would need the dung. They don't just get food out of that, they also get water out of that. In the desert, that's like a commodity, you know what I mean? And then the Crace system, if you can imagine. So if they did not have the Crace system, the first Mara would be killed along with the baby and along with the mother. But the male standing up there, several males being up there, running away the predators that run away, and the infants, the next generation survives. If that wasn't already input into them, they couldn't have developed that over time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, every time that something happens to them, it's not like they learn from it. If they're all dead, you can't pass it on to the next generation. So it's obvious that some of these, not some, all of these systems have to be in place at the same time. And I don't even get into like the digestive system, the esophagus, or, you know, neural system, or the heart, or anything like that. I didn't even get into that. But all these systems are necessary at the same time, because if God didn't put them in there, they can't develop over time. Because if they're trying to develop whatever system it is and they die, they can't pass it on. It's obvious. So basically what it comes down to is, can that creature have evolved? What do you think? Based on what I just told you, no. And you'll hear a bunch of different things about, well, if for several million years, you know, it had to do this, whatever. The million years, that's just a cover for people not wanting accountability or wanting responsibility for what they have. They want to say millions of years. Well, there's no proof of that. Scientifically, there is no proof of millions of years, okay? And if anybody has an issue with that, just let me know after and I'll explain it to you, okay? But there is no scientific knowledge that says we've been here for 1 million years. In fact, all the stuff that's out there actually shows that the evidence points more towards a global flood, and that everything in the Bible that you will learn is exactly correct, all right? That's what it's for. Okay. All right, so that's the little creature we wanted to do today because somebody asked me to do it, and that's what I could get. But, all right. After that, what I'm going to try and do for the next couple, I don't know, 3 or 4 times that I'm up here is, well, before we go into that, does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I always have questions, you know that.
All right.
So one's a point, the fact that.
Point?
One's a point where.
Oh, okay.
The 3 animals that you identified as cavies,
Yep.
I'm sure that the evolutionists try to link the 3 animals called cavies in some evolutionary manner, but they're nothing alike.
Rodents.
So it's an obvious picture that these individually are their own species, their own, so why would they all be called cavies, I guess is the question. And the other one is, do they have a special stomach to be able to digest food? Because there's got to be something, a way to get out the acid content or something in their guts, got to be more developed than normal to be able to pull any kind of nutrients out of the
Yeah.
I would think.
I didn't go too deep into that one, but yes, they do. But at the same time, you know, a lot of animals already have that inside them. You know, take your dog. He eats diapers, you know, but he can digest it and move on. So their stomachs, most animal stomachs are very different than ours. You'll read in the Bible how the dog returns to his vomit. Think he eats it? Absolutely he does. But that's not saying that we can't do it too. If somebody is really that far down and you want to eat that, it'll work. Hate to tell you, but it'll work. It's going to be awful. And people that are, I hate to say that, but POWs and things like that were treated awfully. When we were in there, there was a can that was for waste. After enough time of them not feeding you, you will take that can and there's still some water in there. So, yeah. It's pretty bad, but that's the way it is. We do have that ability. and other animals have that ability to much more than we do, but that's because they eat things that we don't normally eat. Even though we could, but they could too. All right. Does that answer it? Okay, all right. All right. Anyhow, all right. So like I said, after the questions that we're good on, this is what I was going to do for the next 3 or 4 times that I'm up here. At least 3 or 4. Maybe more. It may last till next March. So anyhow, this is what we're going to do. The biblical timeline. All right. We're going to start exactly where it starts and then try and go from there. But the biblical timeline is going to have, how did it do that? Yeah, weird. All right, so Bible verse, we'll do that second. Bible verses from the biblical timeline. So like I said, all of this stuff has been built over time. We've been building this biblical timeline significantly. And the Bible verses that have been used are, I'm not going to give you all of them, but, you know, obviously in Genesis chapter 5, it will give you certain ages or whatever and times when people died or had children. Genesis 1 on 1st and 2nd Kings is another one, has dates and times in there, and we use that one too. Deuteronomy is another one, and there's several other ones, 1st and 2nd Chronicles. We use that one too. People are like, why would you use Chronicles? Nobody ever reads that. That's exactly why you read it, because it helps with the biblical timeline. Sometimes we give a name of someone. That was pretty close. It'll give a name of someone, and then you can relate that name back to somebody in the timeline, and then that way you can build on that. Okay? And that's kind of what I'm getting at. So if we have a biblical timeline, it begins where? Obviously in Genesis 1:1. In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. That's where the biblical timeline starts. Where does it go to? Where? Do it. So, now. Yeah, it goes to now. Does it go any farther?
To the future.
It goes what? It does go to the future, if that's what you said. Yeah. We have a prophetic book. Not only do we have a historical book, we have a prophetic book. And every prophecy in the Bible that's been fulfilled to this point has been fulfilled perfectly. So it's pretty safe to say that every prophecy that hasn't been fulfilled yet is going to be fulfilled perfectly. All right? So the biblical timeline starts at the beginning and it goes to eternity, basically where it goes to. All right? I can't go that far because I can't really teach about eternity, but I'll go as far as I can, okay? We're talking about the timeline. Let's see. Is it important that we, throw out the timeline? Is this thing important? Why?
Well, especially now with everybody pushing evolution, they have no real timeline.
That's true.
They invent further and further out, but they don't really have a timeline.
Yeah.
Whereas we can pinpoint actual events and dates and people and birthdays and all that stuff, just from the beginning. And we can give you actual facts that they cannot.
That's
And so
exactly
with
right.
them, it's theory. With us, it's truth.
Yeah. I don't even know if I'd call it theory with them, but still, that's exactly right. Not only that, is it important? It's in the Bible. Is there anything in the Bible that's not important? If anybody says yes, then why are you in church today? But anyway, it is important. But on that note, and what Miss Dawn was saying right there, everything that she said was completely accurate. All right. Is it complete then? No answer? Nobody's going to jump out on that one? No. Maybe. Sometimes. Man. You want to just say yes too? Yes, no, maybe, sometimes? It is still going on. That's correct. Is it complete as far as what we've got in the Bible? Yes. I believe so too. I believe it's as complete as we're going to be allowed to know is what it is. There's going to be other events that happen, but as far as we know and as far as what we have, and as far as what God has given us exactly what we need. That would include the timeline up to the point of today, correct, and into the future. So the biblical timeline is important. Is it complete? Yeah. All right, well, if it's complete, where does it start? Kind of told you, but. Day one? Okay. When is day one? Year zero, okay. What? The question was, I think I threw it up there. What year, what month, what day? All right, year zero. So, day one, okay. Day one. I guess that was month one, too. Why don't we have the actual day? Why don't we have the actual day, month, or year? Why don't we have that? Why didn't God write it? This is when I started on BC, whatever. You don't have to? Why do we name everything then? Because, our birthday is whatever your birthday is. We have an exact day. Yes.
That's because God is infinite and we are finite. And when the Bible says God is, one day to God is 1,000 years and one day is 1,000.
Yeah.
So time to God is no time. Time doesn't exist with God.
I'd agree. God is outside of time. God created time for us. So if God created time for us, why didn't he give us the day, month, the year? Why didn't he put it in there? I would say so we wouldn't deify it, so we wouldn't worship it, so we wouldn't look at it and go, oh, we need to celebrate this day, and then the creation comes more important than the creator.
1 and 1, wouldn't it?
Do what?
1 month, 1 day, 1.
It is. Whatever day that is day one. But yeah, so we don't know the exact day. I would think, God didn't want us to glorify it and deify it. That's what I would think. All right, so anyhow, when we're doing the biblical timeline, I want to tell you this. Absolute year is kind of how it starts. So absolute zero was correct in that we don't know the exact day, but we know that in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. So that is basically absolute year zero. That is when everything starts, okay? From there, I'm going to give you both the absolute year, and the best I can, I'll give you the other ones too. The absolute year, like I said, just goes from zero to where we are today, okay? Now, the fourth year of King Solomon's rule, you don't have to turn there. I can just do it real quick because I've already got it marked. 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 1 says this, "And it came to pass in the 480th year, after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the fourth year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Ziph, which is the second month, that he began to build the house of the Lord." All right? So the fourth year of King Solomon's rule, he begins to build the house of the Lord. And this date, time, we've got the month Ziph, whatever day it was, that's when he started building it, okay? If we know that, and this is also recognized by all the secular communities out there, they kind of say, okay, this is the date. This is when it started, okay? So we'll take that and we can work our way back and see if the fourth year of Solomon's rule kind of intersects with the absolute year, okay? So that's kind of how this timeline is going to work. So we take each side and try to go, and we can go forward too. So from Solomon's rule, you know that Solomon ruled 40 years, right? So in his fourth year, he started building the kingdom. So that means 4 years prior, there was nothing. But then we know David served 40 years, right? So if we know that, then we can go back. David was 40 years. Saul was 40 years. When we go back, 40 more years. That's how the timeline is going to keep on going, okay? And that's exactly what I try to do with all that we're going to put up here. So for an example of how I'm going to present the data up here, it kind of is going to be like this. You can't really see the names, and that's because I had to use this computer program that, whoa. But anyway, this is a whole lot more to scale than the other things I've done. Instead of trying to throw up little rectangles, this is actually to scale. It's a chart. So you can't really see it, but at the top, there's the total bar that's kind of this grayish outline. So it goes from the year absolute 0 to the year absolute 1652. Does anybody know what happens in 1652? Why I stopped there? Yes, the flood. That's exactly why. So up to the flood is what we're going to try and We won't get very far into it today. But like I said, this is going to continue. Anyhow, so there's the timeline, and those are the people that you can't see, but I'll tell you who they are. Anyhow, all right, so for the biblical timeline, let's go ahead and start all that intro. So here's the start. Adam was created on day 6. So the biblical timeline actually starts on day 6. So it's, year 0, day 6. So I'm missing 5 days. All right, sorry. That's the best I could do. Adam, if you go to Genesis 4:1, which is in the very front, that'll make it a little bit easier. Start right there. That should have been it. Hold on Genesis 4:1. Yeah. And we'll do the next part, and then we'll come back to Genesis 4:1. So Adam, he was born in absolute year 0 on whatever day it was. So we know that his birth is in year 0 absolute. So this is where the timeline is going to start, from year 0.
Exactly, born he was created at.
Created then. I can change that too. So created, year 0. You're correct. But he did start living, so can you call it birth? I don't know. It doesn't matter. All right, year 0 absolute is when Adam was created. Very good. And then at age, I did write that one up there. All right. So year 0 is basically what we've determined is 4,166 BC, plus or minus, according to me, 2 years. Where we're doing it, they'll say 1 year. I don't agree with 1 year. I think it's closer to 2. But 4166 is the determining factor that we've gotten from all that stuff. So the reason I say plus or minus 2 is if Adam was Adam was 930 when he died, okay? So did he die the day he turned 930, or did he die on day 355 of year 930? You know what I mean? So did he live 1 year, or did he live almost a whole another year? I don't know. So that's what kind of gives you a plus or minus 1. Now in the Eastern civilizations, they don't count birth from the time that you come into the world. They count birth from the time you were conceived, okay? So their birthday is different from ours. It's pretty much 9 to 10 months older than ours. So that's how they count it. So that would add more time, I would think, to plus or minus. So anyhow, 4166 BC, like I said, all the way back, and I'll show you as we go. It'll be far, maybe next March, and then we'll get to why I got 4166 BC, plus or minus 2 years. All right, so at age 130, though, for Adam, something happens. Somebody got an idea what it was? Do what? Not yet. It was after that. What? All right, well. At age 130, Seth is born, all right? So Seth is born at age 130. So going back up to Genesis 4:1, I want to show you one other thing about Seth and Cain and Abel. Cain was a good one. So this is what it says. Genesis 4:1 says, Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I've gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of his sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. All right, so there's Cain and Abel, and we know from the Bible that Abel is killed by Cain, okay? Later on, did I write that down? Yeah. Well, later on, Seth is born. So Seth is born after Cain and Abel, and I know what it is, but anyway, Seth is born later. So that means that Cain and Abel were born before Seth, correct? All right. So Cain kills Abel, but we'll get into that in a second. At age 930, though, one more thing happens to Adam. I think I've already told you. And yeah, that's where he dies. Okay. So now, the timeline has been set starting at year 0, going out to year 930 at least right now, just based on that one verse that says, it's in Genesis 5, where it says Adam lived to be 930 years old. Okay? So that's how the biblical timeline is going to work out. Going to use those numbers from Adam all the way up to where we're going to be next. Anyhow, all right. And I have done the timeline before, but I did it on a Wednesday night when I only had like 45 minutes to do it. And I got to do it as fast as I could. But this timeline, I don't have to do that. So we're going to throw a whole bunch of stuff here at you, and we're only at Adam, and time is already going. But I'm going to ask one question at least before we keep going. So Adam and Eve, or Adam was born, and the year 0 had Cain and Abel. So the question I want to ask, this was one of the questions I asked in class. I was like, so was Cain the firstborn of Adam and Eve? Anybody? Huh? No? We're assuming. It doesn't say that it is his firstborn. Where'd Cain get his wife? Probably from Adam and Eve. No, not probably. Definitely from Adam and Eve. Are you going to say something? Yes.
Possibly, but it doesn't say, so it's possible that they're highlighted because of the death.
It could be possible. They probably did have a lot of kids in 930 years. But at the same time, you know, the one that we're given right there is Cain. And this is after they're expelled from the Garden of Eden, correct? Yeah. So, if we know they're expelled from the Garden of Eden and then Cain is born, kind of leads to another question, doesn't it? But we're out of time. So that question will have to wait till next time. Didn't get as far as I thought I was going to get. I can't ask it now. There's firstborn, and it's 10:48 or 7. I'm not going to, we're going to save that for next time. All right. Like I said, I'm going to be throwing a whole bunch of questions at you for the timeline because we can really expand on it this time. And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to expand on the timeline. We might be done by next March. So, no big deal. That's why we have a timeline. All right. And, I don't know if we have choir. Do you know if we have choir? All right. As far as you know? All right. All right, we're going to go with that. And then, everybody just enjoy your little break here, and we'll start up here at 11. All right, cool. Thank you. Thank you for being here.